The game of chairs in Formula 1 has begun in 2025, and we have now seen 2 drivers already removed from their seats after just 6 Grand Prix. Liam Lawson was the first victim at the Red Bull Racing, and after Miami, Jack Doohan was next at Alpine. Franco Colapinto has taken over the seat from Doohan, but the Argentine has also only been given just 5 races to prove himself to Flavio Briatore, including Imola last weekend. In today's GPFans Special, we're going to talk about Colapinto and Alpine and how the French team got to the point where it may now have to change drivers twice within half a season. Red Bull Racing is generally seen as the most ruthless team on the grid, and there's good reason for that. In the last 10 years, Max Verstappen swapped seats with Daniel Kvyat in 2016, as did Alex Albon and Pierre Gasly in 2019. More recently, Nick De Vries, Daniel Ricciardo, and now Liam Lawson were all dragged out of their seats during an F1 season in the last 2 years. But let's not forget that Renault and Alpine can be just as ruthless. In 2004, despite winning the Monaco Grand Prix that year, Jarno Trulli was sacked from the team with several races to go after a bust-up with Flavio Briatore. It's often forgotten, but none other than Jacques Villeneuve was brought out of retirement to finish the season next to Fernando Alonso. Villeneuve ended the year, but was discarded right after as well. You could put these decisions down to Briatore being Briatore, but even after the Italian left the team, similar behavior was exhibited. In 2011, Nick Heidfeld was replaced mid-season by Bruno Senna, and let's not forget 2017, when Jolyon Palmer was very suddenly dismissed and replaced by Carlos Sainz. But it's not just on the driver's side where heads roll at Renault, who transitioned into Alpine in 2021. In the last 5 years, the team has had 4 different team principals, and they're back to square one now, as it's Briatore who's effectively in charge again. The first week of 2022 can be marked as the week where absolutely everything went wrong for Alpine, and a week they're still arguably recovering from now. Out of the complete blue, Fernando Alonso, who everyone expected to re-sign at Alpine, announced he would switch to Aston Martin at the end of the year. A year later, Alonso revealed Alpine had reservations about the Spaniard's age and did not want to commit to him long-term. Alonso himself also wasn't impressed with how Alpine went about things, however. Quote, "The first act was that Vettel retired. The second was that Alpine had been negotiating for several months and nothing was ever finalized. We agreed on everything, but the paper didn't arrive, and I noticed a lack of professionalism. At Aston, we had everything clear on Saturday after Vettel's announcement on Thursday, the role on the table. This willingness to have me seduced me. There were a few hours with both offers on the table, but I saw more ambition at Aston Martin." Okay, so Alonso left, but no biggie, because Alpine had a huge talent waiting in the wings, ready to step up. A certain Oscar Piastri, an Australian who won both the F3 and F2 title as a rookie and is seen by many as a future F1 champion. Just 1 day after Alonso's announcement, Alpine put out a statement that Piastri would drive for them in 2023. As it turned out, the Aussie had no idea the announcement was coming and had never given the green light or signed to become an F1 driver. Just a few hours after Alpine's announcement, the now world-famous tweet from Piastri followed. Quote, "I understand that without my agreement, Alpine F1 have put out a press release late this afternoon that I am driving for them next year. This is wrong, and I have not signed a contract with Alpine for 2023. I will not be driving for Alpine next year." End quote. Alpine had spent millions in developing Piastri and having him test in F1 cars, and because of one legal error, they were left empty-handed. No Alonso and no Piastri. Less than a year later, Renault CEO Luca De Meo admitted that letting Alonso go was a big mistake by the team. Since Alonso and Piastri's departure, Alpine has been pure chaos. They dropped from 4th in 2022 to 6th the year after in the Constructors' Championship, and last year they were in second to last place until that bizarre double podium in Brazil. In that time, 3 team principals have been dismissed, and Renault announced they would stop producing power units from 2026 onwards, as they no longer had a single client team. There was also another fight with the driver, this time Esteban Ocon. So much so that the Frenchman was replaced before the end of the year, being replaced by rookie Jack Doohan, who was already primed to start his F1 career in 2025. But before the year even started, it was already over for Doohan. Franco Colapinto had been lured away from Williams for a lot of money, and he was waiting in the wings as the reserve driver. Before pre-season testing, rumor already had it that Doohan only had a 6-race contract, meaning he'd be replaced after the Miami Grand Prix. Alpine firmly denied this, but the Australian rookie drove exactly 6 Grand Prix in 2025 before being replaced after the Miami Grand Prix by Colapinto. In the end, Jack Doohan has had one of the shortest F1 careers ever. Only 2 drivers, Nicolas Kisa and Yuji Ide, have driven fewer Grand Prix this century, being a full-time driver, so not counting reserves that had to temporarily step up. The Danish Kisa drove 5 Grand Prix for Minardi, while Ide competed in just 4 for Super Aguri before the FIA actually stepped in and stripped him from his super license, as he was a legitimate hazard on the track with how badly and unpredictably he drove. Alpine announced Colapinto would get 5 races guaranteed, and the team would weigh up its options right after. That sounds pretty vague, but Briatore, the new team principal after Oliver Oak's sudden resignation, has hinted that the Argentinian will stay beyond that period. Quote, "No, Franco is in the car. The team decide if it's race by race or the whole season. What does this depend on? The performance. It's only the performance. We need 2 cars together because it's very tight with every team. We need 2 cars all the time. Let's see." Should it be necessary, Alpine have even more reserve drivers to replace Colapinto. Paul Aron has tested in F1 cars this year already, and Ryo Hirakawa drove FP1 for Alpine ahead of the Japanese Grand Prix. Not one driver or staff member has any buffer at Alpine, who after all these years are still looking to stabilize, but only seem to descend into more chaos by the day. How do you think the team should proceed from now on? Let us know in the comments down below. But that's it from me, and that's it for another video. Thank you so much for watching, and hopefully catch you in the next one. Peace.